Right.
The plumber knows that, oh, if I, have photo contacts with 50 people in my local area and I help them out, I know, I guarantee, right, that they're going to be customers for life.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of our Spotlight Sessions we're doing live, where we showcase awesome marketers doing amazing marketing. Today, we are lucky because we are showcasing a legendary marketer who has done some legendary marketing in his time, Mr. Rand Fishkin. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, Chase, thank you for having me.
Rand has a new company that just rolled out called SparkToro, which does some really cool stuff that I'm excited for everyone to see. And we're going to sort of double back around to that. Before we talk about that, I want to talk a little bit. Obviously, we're in some strange times here with everything that's going on with COVID. And Rand wrote a really interesting blog post the other day called Read the Room. And Rand, I'd love to have you just sort of give us a quick summary of that and the message, the intention behind it.
Yeah. So, Chase, my job for a long time has entailed a lot of talking to web marketers. My previous company, Moz, served mostly search engine optimization professionals, and SparkToro really helps around market research, PR, all those kinds of things. But as part of that, a lot of folks were seeking, I think, advice and input on what is the right thing to do right now. Can I do marketing without feeling guilty, without feeling like I'm being, slimy or manipulative, or doing it the wrong way? And I think that's a really very reasonable concern, right? Very fair challenge that a lot of folks are having. I certainly felt that way myself. And so my blog post, Read the Room, was around both a little bit of expectation setting, what we as marketers and entrepreneurs and folks in the business world can expect from the next 3 to 18 months, and what marketing will look like, successful marketing will look like during that time, what is working now and what's not working now. And so, I talked a little bit about kind of the extreme inventory challenge issue, where essentially you have more people online than ever before, more attention being paid online than ever before. At the same time, marketing budgets are getting slashed, and so advertising is at a very low point, and thus all the ad platforms, Facebook and Google and all the rest, are charging some of the lowest prices they've ever seen. And I think we're seeing two kinds of behaviors there. Like one that's very reasonable, where a marketer at an organization whose sales are just down because demand is down, right? They are pulling back on spend because they know they can't make a return on investment. And that is a very reasonable approach. But unfortunately, there's also a lot of marketers who have been tasked by their bosses, their teams, their clients to pull way back on marketing when in fact they could be earning positive ROI, perhaps more than ever. And so they're in fact slashing their budget, which is in turn slashing their revenue, which in turn hits jobs, which in turn hits demand. And you get this cycle of just negativity and bad follow-on effects. So my post is trying to hopefully help folks who are thinking about both the approach to marketing strategically and some of the tactical execution too.
And in your post, you referenced a couple of cool examples. What's been a few that stand out to you of somebody or a company doing it very tastefully, very within the context of what we're going through right now?
I have actually seen a tremendous number of folks do that in a really thoughtful, empathetic way. So I called out a few in the post, but one I just talked about. I just talked about today a little bit. Oh, sorry.
The burger. Who was it with the burger? They had like all their ingredients laid out.
Yeah. So that was great, right? Burger King. This was, I believe I think they did it in France and also the UK. Yeah. So they basically said, hey, you're going to be staying at home. They changed their signage from home of the Whopper to stay home, and then crossed out of the Whopper, which was clever. And then they also had this ad campaign where they essentially showed all the ingredients that you could buy at the grocery store or order online from grocery stores in order to make this burger at home, which was quite clever. And nicely, you know, my assumption was, oh, maybe the Burger King parent corporation has some connection to these brands that they're urging you to buy. And no, they were all, in France, they were all French companies. So it's essentially Burger King sort of helping out other brands for no reason other than to be nice, right? To show kindness. And, you know, helping consumers who are like, oh man, I really miss going out and getting a burger. And certainly they're helping themselves too, right? Because they're creating future demand. I think that model is very smart. You can do that if you're a B2B software company. You can do that if you are in manufacturing or industry. You can do that if you're in consumer products. And we see that all over the place. You know, today I saw Buffer do a really cool, I don't even think it was a campaign. I think it was just a one-off thing that they do for their customers who they know are struggling. So people who are using Buffer, who they've identified in struggling industries, right? Travel, hospitality, et cetera, they basically just reached out to them and said, for the next 3 months, your Buffer subscription is on us. It's just free. Nice. We know that you are struggling. You don't have to come in and cancel. You can keep using our product. Just have it, right? And that, what an awesome way to build goodwill and serve kindness. And then, hey, I mean, of course, all those people what are they doing? They're tweeting about it and posting about it on LinkedIn and emailing their friends about it. And man, check out what this company's doing for us.
And that leads us right into the next thing I wanted to talk about, which is branding and the opportunity for branding right now. You mentioned, you know, it might not be generating sales right now, but it's generating future demand. And to me, that's the result of great branding, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of our community are marketing agencies that work with small local businesses. And I think you can extrapolate from what Burger King is doing and take that to your clients, right? If I'm a plumber, I could be making videos like, hey, I know you're at home right now. Here are 10 things you should check out while you're at home, and here's how to fix them.
Right.
And that's branding, right? You're not making a transactional sale right now, but you're imprinting your brand in their mind.
Oh,
and I know, go ahead.
If you're a plumber, my wife and I call him our landlord, right? But he's just, he used to be our landlord when we were renting. After we bought a house, you know, now we pay him to come repair things. But, you know, he can't come over anymore. And so he's just like, hey, if you have a problem, send me a photo. Send me a photo of the thing. Yeah. I'll tell you how to do it. I'm not going to charge you money. But what kind of, you know, awesome relationship does that create? It's amazing.
Exactly.
Phenomenal, totally. Right? And so, yeah, in your plumber example, precisely, right? If you know that your customers and potential customers have budget, are willing to pay, have demand, go ahead and market to them and charge them. And if you know that that's not the case, if you know that they are struggling, that they're going to have a tough time, and you can afford to essentially make some future investment at the cost of current sales, even better, right? Like that now is an amazing time to build up a relationship. I think for small businesses more than anyone, because small businesses are so relationship driven. They don't have to worry, right? Burger King might have to worry like, okay, how do we project out and how do we know whether this investment that we make in branding is actually going to pay off when this crisis lifts? That's probably a tough sell to their executive suite. It's not a tough sell to the plumber.
Right.
The plumber knows that, oh, if I, you know, have photo contacts with 50 people in my local area and I help them out, I know, I guarantee, right, that they're going to be customers for life.
100%. And we had talked in our email conversation about sort of this as an opportunity for the agencies themselves. So I talk about this all the time, that with marketing agencies, it's usually the cobbler's children have no shoes, right? You focus all your time on your clients and none on your own business. And, you know, I've had a lot of guests on recently talking about how to keep prospecting through this time, but we haven't talked about the opportunity of branding for yourself during this time. Would you say that right now what I'm sensing is it's way more likely for people to want to do things with you, sort of JV branding opportunities, than it was, you know, before this all happened?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And there's also I I think because everyone is going through the same crisis all together, which I don't know as a planet we've ever had that experience, right? There's never been a, certainly not in my lifetime. I think probably, you know, the last time that would be true was for my grandparents, right, during World War II, right? And that, you know, shared experience, and even World War II, right? You had different sides of the war, and so different experiences from that. This is sort of everyone is just like you and I, where we're all stuck at home. We're all worried about the fate of our friends and family. We're all, you know, a little bit too addicted to the news. We're all a little bit stir crazy. So because of that shared experience, right? Whether you have hundreds of millions of dollars or hundreds of dollars, right, in your bank account right now, you have some empathy for everyone around you, right? Because you're going through it together. And I think what that generates is a willingness to help that we historically have not seen, right? So I mean, you know, here in the United States, one of the things that absolutely blew my mind, completely shocked me, was that, you know, the Republican Party, which historically has been very anti-government, you know, very critical of any sort of stimulus packages, even in economic recessions, was like, yeah, $6 trillion, here you go, right? Like, granted, I mean, you can argue that it wasn't sent to the most helpful places or will not be, but right, historically, that party for the last 50 years has not been supportive of any of that stuff. And so I think that's just mind-blowing to see that sort of change, right? I think that's a recognition both of the problem that we're facing, but also sort of this shared humanity that we're all experiencing. And so, yes, I absolutely agree with you. Great time to do partnerships, co-promotion, outreach of any kind. I'm not sure if you saw the HubSpot data, but so HubSpot basically analyzed all of the marketing messages, emails that went through their system from their 70,000-ish customers, and looked at which ones were getting responses. And what they saw is that I think it was the sales stuff was doing worse than it had been historically. But the marketing, especially the educational content marketing, free offers, freemium, all that kind of stuff, all that promotional stuff, that was doing much better, right? So content marketing, education, promotional, like that stuff is up even as sales might be down.
It makes total sense to me. Like you said, we're all in this sort of shared predicament. And I feel like collectively we've let our guards down and we've sort of pulled down those walls of like, everyone's stuck at home. Everyone has kids in the background. Everybody has dogs running around. It's like we're all in sort of this chaotic state. And so people are much more receptive right now. And so I think the opportunities that you said and content creation, you could be creating so much content right now, whether it's hitting people up for testimonials right now, whether it's, you know, trying to find podcasts to get on or people with YouTube shows that are relevant to your audience. And if I'm sitting here listening to this, I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But where do I go to do that? And I think this is a really nice segue into SparkToro, right? So I obviously follow you online. And when you announced it, you had a new company in the works. I was really excited and I signed up for the beta or whatever. But I have to admit, I had no clue of what it was about until the very end. And then when it came out and I got the beta invite and I went in and I still didn't really know what this is about. And then I ran my first search and it was just like, whoa, okay, this is really, really powerful. So can you explain to us what SparkToro does and how it could really help you right now if you're like, yeah, I'd love to start doing some branding stuff right now, reaching out to people?
Sure. So SparkToro is basically a market research and audience intelligence tool that is designed to take away a ton of this manual labor of figuring out what does any given audience pay attention to, where can I go reach them and influence them online, and take it from a process of, you know, months of survey design and launching and getting responses and then analyzing those and trying to get statistical significance, control for biases in your population, right? And all those kinds of challenging problems. If you've ever worked with a market research firm, right, they charge $50,000 and up to do this kind of work. And we were like, gosh, that's really, really annoying. What we saw the most effective folks doing in this space in market research was essentially they go identify who their customers are and who their audience is. So maybe, you are selling your new lighting design to architects. Maybe you're selling your new equipment to plumbers. Maybe your new conferencing software is great for sales conferences, right? And so you're looking for VP sales and sales professionals and blah, blah, people who have this in their job title or people who talk about this online or whatever it is. So you try and go and find a few hundred or a few thousand of those people. You search for them, or you build a web crawler to go search for them, find all of their social and web profiles, import that data into a giant database, and then analyze the similarities in traits and trends between those groups of people. Mm-hmm. Great, super effective, way better than survey data, potentially not as costly, assuming that you have developers to go build you that software for you. But oh my God, right? 99% of marketers just can't do this, cannot do it. And so we were like, you know what? SparkToro should do that for you. Like, there should be software that just goes and crawls the web and picks up, tens of millions of web profiles and then lets you search across them in a second. And so that's what SparkToro does. If you want to know which podcasts architects in Los Angeles listen to, or what websites plumbers in the UK visit, or what B2B sales executives in Canada are reading and visiting and following, SparkToro can tell you that in just a few seconds.
So I want to sort of reiterate and some examples that I've come across as I've been playing with the tool, because I think this will make a lot of light bulbs go off for our community. If I work with, let's say, dentists, right? I do dental marketing. I could say, hey, show me the most popular podcast that people who have dentists in their profile listen to, right? SparkToro spits out this list of the most popular podcasts that dentists listen to. Now I start hitting up those podcasts. Hey, I'm the best dental marketing on the earth. I want to be on your show. I can talk about these things. Bang. Now you're building
the tactics, the tactics are in your court, right? You might say, oh, I want to do advertising, or I want to do a partnership, or I want to do a sponsorship, or I want to pitch my product, or I want to pitch to be a guest on the show, or I want to create some content that the show will talk about. Like, you can, whatever your marketing tactics are, totally up to you. I think that the challenge that we're trying to solve is the problem of, I can go to Facebook and Google today, and I can have them run my ads to relevant audiences, but they will not tell me who those relevant audiences are or how they're reaching them, right? So I don't actually know where what are the Facebook pages that you're putting this on, and which people are you putting it in front of, and like, no, you can't really see that, right? The audience, Facebook's service is intentionally not going to show you that, right? Because they don't want you to go direct. They want you to buy the ads through them. Same with Google. And so SparkToro is basically trying to disintermediate that and put the power back in your hands, so that, look, we see this all the time, especially with marketing agencies and consultancies, right? Their client, their team, their client will come to the agency and say, like, hey, we want to get a piece in the Wall Street Journal because our CEO reads the Wall Street Journal, and he thinks, it's usually a he, unfortunately, he thinks that Wall Street Journal readers are who we want to reach. And your agency can fight all you want and say, Wall Street Journal, come on, that's the most expensive, difficult place to get placement in. And like, we could spend 6 months working on a campaign to get in the journal, maybe not even have any success. Are you sure you don't want to go after these publications that we're pretty sure reach your actual audience? And they're like, can you prove it? No, you can't.
Right.
So SparkToro can now prove it, right? We can say, oh, yes, you want to reach chemical engineers who are in the United States. Well, the Wall Street Journal is terrible targeting. I know your CEO reads it. Guess who doesn't? Chemical engineers, your buyers, right? So here are the trade publications and podcasts that that they listen to. And it's often very different from what you'd get if you Googled chemical engineering podcasts, right? Chemical engineering podcasts, that'll show you who's good at SEO. Right?
That's what was so impressive to me when I ran the searches. It was like the results were really interesting. It wasn't what I thought they would be. And you're just going, whoa, okay. Here, these 3 YouTube channels, wow, that makes so much sense. And now if I want to use AdWords, I could run a YouTube ad targeting those channels. Or like you said, now I know who they are. So I can reach out to them directly. I can go to their website, find their email, reach out, and come up with some pitch or some way to hopefully do something with them. And I think having that information is like
comments, right?
Yeah.
You can even just do, maybe I should have the top comment on these videos when they come out. Let me get an alert when the video comes out. I'll subscribe to the channel. I'll be the first commenter there. I'll start to build up some, efficacy through comment marketing.
Yeah, exactly. I think just seeing the result is going to put so many ideas into people's minds as to what's possible. Because before I ran that first search, I didn't even know any of that was possible. I didn't know it was possible for somebody to get all that information and put it together. And I can't imagine how much effort went into it on your end. So kudos to you guys for something.
Oh, well,
really
luckily
cool.
my co-founder Casey does all the programming. So, my end was basically like, oh, I think you should fix this, Casey.
Nice. Awesome. Well, Rand, thank you so much for joining us. As a longtime viewer, we were talking about when I was like, hey, guess who's coming on the show this week? Everybody collectively was like, get out of here, and I think we all sort of agreed that going through the Whiteboard Fridays for years was like the education for a lot of us who've been in this industry for a long time. And so just another thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Chase.
Awesome. Well, have a great weekend. Have a great weekend, everybody that's watching. Stay safe, and we'll see you on the next episode.